Hi guys, welcome back to Scott Family Homestead. Today we are going to answer the question, how much acreage do we have? And we're also going to talk about why I do not like to answer that question. I also have a really cool announcement and some new additions to show you, so I hope you stick through the whole thing. It's going to all come full circle, I promise, why we're discussing this today. First, we're going to go feed the cattle with some of these pumpkins. I had a ton of volunteer pumpkins this year, and we're gonna feed these to the cattle. Some say that pumpkin, especially the seeds, can be a natural dewormer, and they just, in general, really enjoy them. So I've got a couple of these big ones I'm gonna bring out to these guys, and we'll start the discussion all about acreage. So let's talk about acreage. First, there's two reasons we generally don't discuss acreage here. The first being that we have a lot more acreage than what we're currently using. This general area, so this pasture that we're using, and our barn, chicken coop, the pig pens down here in that marshy area, this all is only about 5 acres. Now, we added on and we have another pasture now. If you include that and the river in between, it comes to about 10 acres. Now, 5 to 10 acres is not attainable for everybody, but it's attainable for a lot more people than, say, a 40-acre plot. I've been doing this for 10 years now, blogging and doing Instagram, Facebook videos, YouTube more recently. And I have found that a lot of people who watch our channel and read our content, they're just getting started, or they live in the city, maybe an apartment, maybe they are dreaming of a homestead. And for that reason, when you start looking at larger plots of land, like 40 acres or more, it seems way less attainable for most people. It's also a huge amount of work the more acreage you start to farm. And so we here generally focus on the 5 acres around our home, and our content generally focuses on things that you can do even in small quantities. Even if you don't have a farm, you can watch a lot of our canning videos and buy stuff from the farmer's market. I've even done videos where I have bought stuff from the farmer's market and taught you how to can. And that has kind of been the focus of my content for a long time, and will continue to be. So we're utilizing a smaller bit of land than most farms, but we fall into the range of a lot of homesteads, or in that 5 to 10 acre range. But you could do a lot of what we are doing here on an acre. Probably not running as many cows as we are, but you could do the high tunnel, growing a garden, meat birds, turkeys, ducks, egg layers, pigs. You can do a lot of that stuff on an acre. I never wanted to portray that you need a bunch of land to do this, which is why we have always kind of focused on this area right here. Now this year I did fence in a few more acres for our cattle, because we've got a lot of cows now, and running on just this one pasture was not enough. And we added a pig pasture over there to get them up out of the water that was down here. Which kind of leads me to part 2 of why we don't usually talk acreage, and that is because your acreage can vary so much depending on where you are and what that acreage looks like. 10 acres here of pasture and fields and a barn, completely different than the 10 acres we had just prior to this. Our previous property was just under 10 acres, almost fully wooded. So when we said we're homesteading on 10 acres, it's kind of deceiving, because we were raising almost everything in our backyard, like a fenced in backyard, for our meat birds, our turkeys, our layers. And then we expanded and used pigs to clear some land so that we could put up a high tunnel. And then we used pigs to clear more land for their own pig pen the next year. And most of the 10 acres we didn't use at all. We could not run cattle out there. We did not have a barn, so we could not keep breeding stock. We did not have a water source. Here we have a river. There we didn't have any kind of flowing free water. And so that acreage is completely different than this. So what I try to do is show projects that we're working on, the space that we are utilizing for it. Not everybody's homestead looks the same. You might be homesteading on wooded acreage, I would still love to be your resource for that. What I can do on my end is show you what we have in an attainable scale like this, offer solutions or alternatives. So not everybody can free range all of their chickens. So we talk about tractors, we talk about coops, and different alternatives based on where you are in your journey. And so I hope that I have been a place where you can come for that sort of thing, or to come and dream if this is not something that you currently have, but it's something that you dream of and would like. But the quality of acreage and what's growing on it is a huge part of why we don't talk about it, because I can say you can do this on 10 acres and you might not be able to do it on your 10 acres. And so generally we don't answer that question. There's one other aspect to this. If you guys saw our video with the abandoned hunting cabin that we found on our property, we have a lot of hunting acreage and wooded acreage here that does not contribute to the farm. So to lump that in with our overall acreage is kind of deceiving, because we're not actually farming all of that. So to answer the question, because I know everybody's going to want to know, I've been asked this so many times, I have avoided answering this question so much because it seemed unattainable for me. I never would have dreamed that we could have had this kind of acreage when we were looking at farms. On this property here, we actually have just shy of 150 acres, with more than half of that being wooded. Now, being on this land has opened up a lot of opportunity to me. So I have been a stay-at-home mom for about 8 years. Before that, I worked and provided all the childcare for our kids. So it was a really difficult balance, and I decided that I had to stay home. And that is when I started growing more of our food. But I was not able to have all the opportunities that I have here with this land and grow much food for other people. And now I have the ability to do that. I have this opportunity to create a business out of this, and that's really exciting for me. I can contribute more to our household and hopefully build a business for the long term if all goes well. So I'm going to show you an expansion that we're making. I'm going to show you some of our other land, what our plans are for it, kind of explain why we're talking about this now. And then I'm going to show you our new additions. I got some pumpkin. On a side note, here's Cedar. He's the calf that we found in the field that was very cold and not doing so well. He's so fluffy and healthy. Posted a reel about him, and it's up on YouTube, but Facebook made me take it down because somebody must have reported it or something. I don't know. But he's doing really great. Fantastic. And we are so happy he pulled through. All right, we're going to get in the side-by-side and head out down the road, and I'm going to show you our new little spot. Welcome to the other part of our property. All of this has been used for hay as of recently. We rent it out and they make the round bales. We've got this road that runs through it. We've got the wooded acreage out back and to the side here. That's all of our hunting land. Now kind of comes the question of why am I introducing all of this on our channel, whereas I never talked about it before, and that is because I have started my business, Scott Family Homestead, and we are selling meat by the cut now, which is really exciting. We had 1 steer and 9 pigs go to the butcher, and the beef was a big hit right off the bat. And we learned quickly that we're gonna need to grow more beef. Primarily, how I'm selling meat right now is in bundles. And so we're putting together boxes, usually that have beef, pork, and chicken in it, or we do a pork box, a breakfast box with just pork in it. That's all the breakfast meats. And they are selling really well for us right now. So we would like to expand into that. I should say I would like to expand into that. Ryan is obviously helping me along the way. I couldn't do it all by myself. I do a lot of the animal care and the marketing, all of the internet, social media, all this stuff. And he does help me with the animals and with a lot of the pickups. So we decided to put a lot of investment into this and try to get this off the ground. And we are transitioning these fields back to us so that we can expand our pasture. Starting with this side of this road here, we have a lot of pasture space here. None of this is fenced. It's all used for hay right now. And so it's gonna be a lot of work to get this fenced. And it's actually gonna be starting sooner than I had expected. And I'm gonna show you kind of the complication of that and why now is the time for that. But we were using this all for hay. It was really overwhelming for us when we found this property because we didn't know what to do with all of it. We've never made hay before. We don't have the equipment for it. And so we had found somebody who was willing to do it for a couple of years and took care of all of this for us until we got on our feet and we were able to kind of make a plan for how we want to move forward. So this side of the road is 22 acres, and that is going to stay for making hay. Eventually, I would love to have all of this fenced and be able to do rotational grazing through this. We don't want to grow to the point of where we are using all of this for cattle, but we would like to be able to rotate through it and use some of the fields for hay, kind of alternating years. Now the other side of the road over here, this is 17 acres. We won't be able to fence it in all at once. It'll become several paddocks that we can rotate through. What we want to do this year though is on this far side, we want to get this fencing started. And that is because through the woods there on the edge of our property is a public trail. It turns into a snowmobile trail in the winter, and I'm very hesitant to just put fencing up there next summer and not have it marked in some way. So last year we didn't have a snowmobile season. There wasn't not enough snow. But this coming year, hopefully we'll have a nice snowmobile season. We like to snowmobile as well. But a lot of you know, if you are snowmobilers, people go off trail, and we've had people the first winter we were here coming through this field. My concern is they'll come off that public trail through the woods and not realize, especially at night, that there's a fence there. So our plan is, because we are turning this into pasture, start putting some fence posts out here with the bright orange snow fencing to mark that so that people know not to come across there. We'll probably leave the snow fencing there long term, but hopefully it will deter people from coming this way. Otherwise we just use a 2-strand fence. If you hit that while you're snowmobiling, that would be intense. Now the complication of that is that this fence line that goes along the public trail is over 1,500 feet long. I can't do all of that before the ground freezes up, so the plan is to do the first couple hundred feet, get the bright orange snow fencing on. That's the part where people were coming through before. And as we expand this fence, we will just make sure that we put up some kind of marking so that people know. Snow fencing isn't cheap, so I don't know how we're gonna do 1,500 feet and make it affordable. So if you have any ideas of another way to mark it, I don't know that signs is gonna work because you just never know when they're gonna go through the woods, through that little patch there. So you'd have to mark it the whole way somehow. We're gonna try the snow fencing for now. That's a project for later this week. So like I said, this isn't going to change a ton of our content. This will be included. Obviously we're going to talk about it. It's a huge part of our life. This isn't what our channel is going to center around, is the business side of things. But this does create an opportunity for me to show our customers where their food is raised and how it is treated. And we have this unique opportunity to be able to be really transparent with our customers, and they can feel good about what they're buying from our farm. So I did want to include this on our channel. I wanted to introduce it to you. It's very exciting. Big part of our life right now is just the expansion. We're growing this business, and it has been a dream of mine for a long time, and I'm so excited to share it with you guys. Next up, I got a couple of new additions to show you. We're gonna head back over to our other field. I got a couple more pumpkins, so we'll feed the new additions, and the pigs that are over there, I'll give you a little update on them, and we'll talk about what comes next. We've sold a few of our piglets, so that should be a relief to Mama. But we do have some available if you're looking. They're looking really good and healthy right now, putting on lots of weight. Pretty soon we'll get Mama moved out of here and just let the feeders kind of do their thing and keep growing. Ryan and Micah went to go lure in the new cows. Here they come. See if we can get them headed this way so you guys can get a good look at them. As you can probably tell, we're expanding our beef herd, and we got these two mamas. They are low-line Angus, which is kind of like a mini Angus. We do a lot of mini cows here, not true like genetically mini cows. We just like the smaller cows, and they breed well to our Highland. So we've got a couple new low lines. If you know our cow Suki, she is also a low-line Angus. And so we're gonna have all these little Angus mamas. We did get new shelters this week, so that was exciting. And now we're able to keep cows out here for the winter. We had moved everybody off of this pasture, assuming that we would just keep everybody close to the house. But now we got these two new ones. We've got them out here kind of to quarantine, make sure everybody's good before we introduce them to anybody else. But in probably about another week, we'll bring out Martha and her baby, and probably Rory, because she keeps attempting to nurse off of Lorelei. It's like an ongoing problem. So if we can keep them in separate fields, that would be ideal too. Let me show you these guys. They're still not totally used to us, and that's okay. It's going to take a little bit of time. They were exposed to an Angus bull, so ideally we'll have spring babies from them. We have named these ladies. The smaller one is Hazel and the larger one is Juniper. They're not fully ready to be YouTube stars yet, so we'll have to give them a little bit of time. When you get cows like this, it's going to take about 3 years for their young to grow up and be butchered. So they won't have their babies until the spring, and then probably go 2 years, maybe more, before we butcher those. And so it's a huge investment that takes a long time. If you want to get into beef, if you're buying steers right now, like the market is crazy. So if you're buying steers, you are paying top dollar. We bought our 2 steers and they were not cheap. And so it's easier to get into getting the mamas. It's just that you then have to wait. This goes kind of back to my breeding stock video, why we choose to have breeding stock. But part of it is just we can keep a turnover, keep our dairy bred and our beef bred. And for us, it works out best that way. Now, we have put in so much this year between the fencing, the shelters, feeding everybody. This is not like full transparency. This is not being paid for by selling cuts of meat. My business, Scott Family Homestead, my social media, like this is not covering it. We are paying for this through Ryan's income. And I want to be fully transparent about that because it's not something where you can just go out and buy a farm and get up and go. We are operating very much in the negative. We are putting a lot of investment into this. We are making sacrifices in our family and in our home in order to be able to put our income towards this as a one income family. And so I just want to be really clear about that we are not finding overnight success in this. But we appreciate every single sale that we make. We appreciate every single customer we have. And those of you who are from afar and aren't here, we appreciate every time you watch one of our videos, every time you share it or comment, anything that helps, because social media is a big part of this and it's where we started. Sharing our journey and the desire to help people get started and help people expand their homesteads is where all of this started for me. So while we are expanding into all of this, it's all a huge blessing and a huge dream, but it's also that time where we are really in the make it or break it. So this is a huge investment year. Like I said, we're operating very much in the negative. Next year is when we have to do more work with less budget and try to turn this thing into a thriving business. And for that, I appreciate every single one of you. I hope you will follow along. Make sure you're subscribed to our channel. We love having you here. We love sharing. and I hope that you are inspired by some of our videos. We've got so much more to come: food preservation, cooking, homesteading, raising these animals, raising babies, and I'm so glad you guys are here. One very quick side note: if you are local, we have new bundles available, and you can check out our Facebook or our website to get all the details. So thank you for hanging out with me today, and I will catch you on the next one. Bye guys.